Is Lydia worth it? Is she worth your time, your money, and should you play her? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Lydia is the second DLC character in Tekken 8, and is very different from almost any other character in the game. She relies on using multiple stances to pressure you and force 50-50s, and then converting with her incredibly high combo damage. Some people call Reina a stance transition character, but she's nothing compared to Lydia. Seriously, this character has like 4 stances that all link directly into each other. So if you like aggressive, pressure-based characters who aim to overwhelm you with a ton of strings and setups and just constant pressure, then you're gonna love Lydia. I initially really thought I wouldn't like the character, as I normally prefer more single-hit, counter-hit based characters. But to be honest, I was super surprised with how much I liked her. I've had so much fun labbing her pressure options and mix-ups. There's something just really satisfying about playing this character, and that's in no small part due to her presentation. Her animations, voice lines, and effects are incredibly well done. Some people have said she feels clunky to play, but I super disagree. I just think she's very different in the way that she moves and applies her pressure. It's hard to describe, but I've honestly never felt a more unique Tekken feeling character. You can tell just by looking at some of her combos how different she is and if you'll be into it or not. Her fluidity and her usage of karate just feels so satisfying to me. With Lydia being a stance-based character, that naturally makes her complicated. She's definitely not an easy character. You're gonna need to spend a lot of time learning the ins and outs of all of her different stances, and the best way to start your pressure and keep things mixed up so your opponent never catches on to what you're doing. And again, everything goes into stance on this character. This might sound intimidating, but you shouldn't let it stop you. She's the kind of character like Eddie, who's going to be incredibly effective in low ranks with not a ton of effort, especially for the first couple months while people figure her out. So you'll be able to do very well with her with just the basics for now, and can slowly test new stuff out as you improve and slowly add to your arsenal on this character. Don't dive in all at once, you can start small. If you are someone who likes high execution combos, then you can spend a ton of time in the lab with this character. She has a huge amount of blue spark moves that require perfect timing. Some of her combos require like 3 of these for max damage, but don't worry, you can do all of her best combos without the blue spark moves. It'll just do a little less damage. Again, you don't have to worry about this right away, but it'll be there whenever you feel like you're ready to start practicing it. For some people, viability is important in deciding if they should pick up a character, and it's unfortunately way too early for anyone to agree on anything when it comes to this character. Some people think she's mid-tier, some people think she's broken. It's just way too early to see. But I do want to say that no matter what people come to say about her in the coming weeks, just know that unless you're a competitive player, it really doesn't matter. This is a super balanced game, and the difference between tiers in this game is smaller than it's ever been before. Every character is strong, and you can beat anyone with any character, even in tournaments. It's one of the reasons why I love this game so much. Now let's get to the character specifics. Before we talk about her strengths as a character, and there are a lot of them, let's quickly go over her weaknesses. Lydia has pretty weak standard fundamental options. Her jab and down forward 1 have short range, so you won't be poking a lot on this character. She also has pretty bad lows. One of her best lows is her down back 4, which is only neutral on hit and doesn't even change on counter hits. It's also really slow to come out, but does have good range, I guess. Another low Lydia players use is her down 2, which is pretty bad. It's -4 on hit, and while it is fast, it's not even worth going for most of the time. It does give a small follow-up on counter hit, but that -4 on hit is really bad for her. Her other main low is her down back 3 sweep, and it's really weird. It's a fast tracking low that knocks your opponent down into a weird state, giving you a free mix-up, but it feels way too risky. It's launch punishable and barely does any damage by itself. The risk reward for this move just feels off, and it also has pretty horrible range. Lydia's good lows lie in her stances, which are at the core of her identity and what she's known for. So let's talk about her many strengths. But before we do, I have to quickly interrupt this video and ask you guys to subscribe if you're enjoying this and want to see more scripted Tekken 8 videos like this. It only takes 2 seconds and is a huge help for me. I hate doing these, but the YouTube algorithm can be super unforgiving and unpredictable, and I'm trying to work towards my dream of hopefully one day doing this as a job. Thank you guys so much, and let's get back to the video. She starts her pressure with her 2 ridiculous approach tools, her forward 2, similar to Reina's, and her forward 1 for massive plus frames. These moves basically force your opponent to always be worried, and it gets even worse when she's in heat, giving both of these options guaranteed follow-ups. Lydia, in my opinion, has some of, if not the best heat usage in the game. So many of her core moves change when she's in heat. While in heat, she unlocks her gimmick, this little icon below the health bar. If you don't know already, this is related to her special heat stance called Heaven and Earth. While in Heat, after hitting certain moves, like her while running 1 or her Heat Smash, she'll automatically transition into the stance, which uses a ton of your heat. Every time you use the stance, the number on this icon goes up to a maximum of 3, and this carries over between rounds, giving you more damage on certain moves and reduced heat consumption when using heat moves. Basically, you're always going to want to use the stance at least once per round during Heat to build the Heaven and the Earth meter. But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part are her 3 options out of the stance. She has a completely unseeable high unblockable that does almost 40 damage. This is probably the fastest unblockable we've ever seen in Tekken. It's a high, however, so it can be ducked, so she mixes this up with a very strong mid launcher that's minus 11 on block, and a super plus mid string that wall splats from the other side of the stage. Seriously, we're talking Jin Heat Smash level of range. This is one of Lydia's forced 50-50s that she gets after Heat Smashing your block, using a forward 1. There's a lot of ways she can get into this, and it's so strong. And this works very well in tandem with the rest of her kit, and her high combo damage. I mentioned it earlier, but honestly, she has some of the highest combo damage out of any character in the game, and her wall travel's very good too. She excels in bombarding her opponent with pressure and plus frames, and stringing together your stances perfectly to always keep them guessing. So, should you play Lydia? Or if you're still undecided, should you shell out the money to buy her? Well, it really depends on who you are. If you're the kind of player who loves to press buttons, deal huge damage, and constantly hit crazy mix-ups on your opponent, then I think you'll really enjoy her. She's been modernized very well with her new Heaven and Earth system, and her design and art direction is incredibly strong. I found her to be one of the most satisfying characters to play in Tekken. Seriously, her forward 2 is such a dopamine rush to hit. That being said, Lydia definitely isn't for everyone. There's a lot of people who don't like weird stance-based mix-up characters, and that's totally fair. I will say though that I previously considered myself to be one of those people who hated stance-based characters, mostly playing single-hit characters like Jin and Paul, but I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed playing Lydia. So if anything in this video sounded interesting to you, then I would say you should give her a try. I mean, if you ever want to learn how to beat her, you're going to need to buy the character anyway, because for some reason Namco is still locking the replay practice feature behind a paywall and not letting you learn how to beat DLC characters. But that's a topic for another day. Despite that, so far I've been really happy with Bandai Namco's design execution of the DLC characters. While I'm not a fan of reselling previous DLC or legacy characters, at least Namco has made a clear effort to modernize these characters and make them all feel new and unique. I can't wait to see how Heihachi plays. But yeah, that's about all I've got for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you think about Lydia and if you're going to try her out. I'll be down there chatting with you guys as always. As always, I want to give a big thanks to my YouTube members and Patreon patrons. Seriously, thank you guys so much. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.